So, welcome. So, I just wanted to explain. This chat is one of a series of chats that I've had with many great women that I have met along the way. And I wanted to do this because I learnt the hard way that feeling your feelings are vital to living a full, vibrant, and healthy life. And as a result, I want to help support others to do the same through a wide range of complementary therapies and meditation and healing days. And I wanted to speak to other women to find out how they feel and what they are passionate about. So, Hannah, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's always
Can
good
you?
to chat
Yeah,
about emotions.
absolutely. But first, tell me about you. What is it that you do? What is your business, etc.? And how did you get involved in this?
Oh God, you might have to wind me in here, but yeah. So essentially, I practice astrology and work a lot with the moon cycles. So I have kind of transitioned. It's been a journey, but for me, my kind of passion lies in it connects kind of with yours, but helping people really honor their emotions and their get in tune with their rhythms. Because I think that this world is so fast paced that we're often kind of outside of ourselves. And I want, the natal chart for me is an amazing map to kind of bring you back to yourself and your wisdom. So that kind of essentially in a nutshell is helping women reconnect with themselves essentially. And it's funny how I found astrology. Well, it kind of found me, as these things do. And I mean, I was always a bit obsessed with horoscopes when I was younger,
Yeah,
just as
me
you
too.
are. Right, really did the horoscope thing. And then it wasn't until I went to Australia for a year, lived out there, and I got back. And before that, I was kind of looking, I was seeking, what is my purpose, and asking all these big questions. And then I got back, moved to London, and I was kind of going to all the meetup groups in London, tons of different things to kind of figure it all out. And then, as your intuition does, I got this really strong nudge one day, and it was have you seen, do you know the Watkins bookshop in London? It's like
Yeah.
I know, so for anyone, it's an amazing kind of spiritual bookshop that you go in and you feel like you've stepped into another world. It's incredible.
Oh, okay.
And
Whereabouts is it?
it's near Covent Garden. So
Okay.
they sell like cards, crystals, books, old books. It's just a beautiful shop. And they do some talks in there. And this one day I was sort of on Meetup, just having a look, and it just popped up that this man was going to do a talk about his new book, Your Zodiac Soul. And I thought, well, I've sort of been studying astrology myself a little bit from books. And so I just went along. I was like, I need to go. I don't really know why, but I went along and then found out that he was running courses. And I was captivated by his kind of how he was telling the Greek myths. And I was like, I want to study with him. And then it turns out he had a course running that started that week on the Sunday. And that was on the Wednesday.
Oh, funny.
And so it all kind of fell into place. And I signed up, and there I was 4 days later studying astrology in Glastonbury. So
Oh, wow, in Glastonbury as well.
yeah. It's a beautiful place, isn't it?
Mm.
So yeah, that's kind of where it all began for me. So
And
yeah,
so, what
it's
were you doing before then in order to sort of pay the bills and do all of that side of things?
that between, so I was working in a crystal shop, I think, at that time. It's all a bit blurry, isn't it? So my sort of background, I studied fashion design,
Okay.
and then I kind of fell into fashion retail because when you're younger, I think I was quite lost. I didn't really know what
Yeah,
I wanted to do. So
yeah.
I worked in fashion retail, I think, at that time. And then I was working in a crystal shop, um, which was kind of fun, like learning about crystals and people asking all sorts of things. And then somehow, yeah, that I got the money together for this course. And I was actually at that time I was working in a guest house in London. So I've kind of mostly my background's quite funny, has been a lot of customer service roles. They've all been that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I was, yeah, on the reception of the guest house. But I met some very interesting people there. You can, I think that really opened things up actually for me, is a lot of people from the Steiner community and all kinds of philosophy schools would come and stay at this guest house. I used to call it kind of like a Fawlty Towers kind of place. It was
Yeah,
really
sounds
interesting.
fascinating. As I was talking to somebody only last week on here that was she was talking about how she traveled a lot, but she then came home and opened up a cafe, and she would find that lots of people who were traveling would come to her cafe, so she still felt like she was traveling. So in a way, you get to meet so many unique and interesting people because they're all on their journey, and yet even though you're not traveling, you're getting to meet some really fascinating people. So yeah. But
Oh,
did you get the chance
absolutely.
to
That's
talk to them very
wonderful.
much, I suppose, or not as much as you probably would have liked?
Yeah, well, I did actually, because it was quite a chilled, it wasn't like a big hotel. So people used to come and you'd get to know them.
Yeah,
So they became regulars, and there would be a lady that came, I think, with her daughter from Germany every year. She'd be back again. And they called it like their home away from home type place.
right.
So they really felt at home, and it was, we were, like a friendly bunch of people,
Yeah.
and it was crazy, but it was quite a fun place to work. Actually, I did really enjoy it there. But obviously it wasn't this kind of self-development work
No.
that I'm doing, but it was. I know I got house sitting, pet sitting, all sorts of opportunities from that, from being there in that
Oh,
energy.
really? How funny.
So, I also, there was some people doing personal development training and seminars, and they invited me, and I got like, they just said, come along, and they gave me like a free ticket to their 3-day workshop. and,
Fabulous.
and things like that. So it was, yeah, it was a good memories of,
Yeah.
working there. So,
And so
um,
where are you now based?
so now in Southampton.
Okay.
So I left that job. I left the guest house before everything kicked off, actually, at the end of 2019. And I left the job because I had this yearning. I started practicing astrology sort of at the end of my course, and was like, you've got that, when you've got that fire burning within you, I was like, I just need to take the leap of faith, which I've done many times in my life without kind of a plan as such.
That's great. That's the best way, I think. I think those leaps of faith are the ones that are intuitively driven, and therefore they are the right path, aren't they? And it's the more that you get stuck in your head of the way forward rather than just going with, then you come
Absolutely.
to a problem, I think.
100% agree with you. It's and because I know my chart well, I'm quite fiery, so there is this kind of quick impulsiveness I have, that like, okay, right, I'm going to do it, and I make a decision, and it can be quite quick.
Yeah.
So
What
I
star
think,
sign are you?
well, I'm Capricorn, so I'm Earth, but then my moon is in Sag, so I've got quite a lot of Saggy
Okay.
energy. Yeah, I remember are you quite watery, I think.
I'm Gemini, so but I have Aquarius rising and Scorpio moon.
Oh, that's it, the Scorpio moon, I remember.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think, I think it's such an amazing thing, because I think we all know our star signs, right? But the thing that really kind of lit me up was when I found out my moon sign. Um,
Right.
it was like, oh, I've never felt fully Capricorn. And a lot of people say, right, they don't relate completely with their sun sign. I'm like, oh, this is another piece, because this is my inner world, and this is how I kind of process things emotionally. And it
Right.
all made sense to me. So it kind of does unravel a lot, I think, does give people a lot of clarity.
It's interesting because there are a lot of people who think that oh, horoscopes are absolute nonsense and there's no basis of truth in it whatsoever. And because I guess they're thinking of that we're all divided into this 12
Mm.
sectors, and they're not really understanding that there's so much more depth. Can you explain a little bit more about that, how
Yeah,
that is?
absolutely. That's a good question. Yes, because people are skeptic. And I always want to speak to that. And I think I need to speak to it more, actually, because people think, yeah, like I am this star sign and that's it. And also, like you said, there is 12 zodiac signs, as you said, and actually we have access to all of those energies in our birth chart. And I believe like we're multifaceted. You're not just a Gemini, you've got that Aquarius rising and then your Scorpio, the water energy. So I think we can essentially I break it down to like the four elements. So it's because at first it can seem a bit overwhelming, like, oh my God, there's 12 zodiac signs and where do I start with all that? So I always say for people to, if they know about their sun sign, look into your moon sign and your rising sign, because for me, those are the key parts of you that really help you kind of, again, just live in alignment with who you really are, without the conditionings. We have so many conditionings and layers of, life got busy. But essentially, your rising sign will help you get to where you're going. It's like I describe it as like the kind of glasses you put on and you see the world through that energy. So for you being like Aquarius rising, it's like that's the air element. So it's all about community, kind of, embracing diversity and connecting to that higher vision. Those things are really important to you. And then your sun sign is how the I am, how you go about doing and living your purpose. And then the moon is the how you are emotionally, what you need, your sort of nurturing style. So for me, like as an example, I love travel and I've had so many jobs. That's my Sag moon, because I'm constantly needing to expand and kind of learn, and I have this thirst for knowledge. So
Right.
that's kind of my nature, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I would say to everyone is just as a starting point to break it all down is learn, you can look on cafe astrology for those three
Mm.
parts.
But also, it's based on the fact that we're born at a certain point in time and how that correlates to what was going on in the sky at that particular moment in time. Because I know people
Yeah.
will think, they're used to picking up a newspaper or a magazine and thinking, well, what's the star for Gemini? I mean, that's just got absolutely
No,
no sense at all
absolutely.
to it whatsoever,
Yeah.
has it? And so, you know, I mean, you can be studying it for a lifetime and probably still not really fully understand it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point as well, because I think the why people are skeptical is they, like you said, they read their horoscopes, but that's just a tiny part of you, like you can predict with astrology. And I think that's always a kind of wary area to go into. You can look at transits coming up, like the energies, but I think, yeah, it's like it is, you go down a rabbit hole and it's so complex. And I think like I'll be studying this for the rest of my life, you
Mm,
know which is exciting,
yeah,
because what maybe as humans we're not meant to know it all, because
yeah,
that would take away our joy and our kind of curiosity in a way, wouldn't it?
yeah.
So
Yeah. No,
it's
I was just
yeah.
thinking that actually when just talking about it now, my brother is an Aquarius and my sister is a Scorpio. So it's funny that those two signs were within my chart.
Interesting. Yeah, do you feel they bring those different parts of you out, like maybe
Absolutely,
that?
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because being a Gemini, we're quite sort of flexible and fluid, and so I find it easier to. I struggle sometimes if all the people I know are in the same room.
Mm.
Who am I? Because who I am is flexible based on who I'm with, and I like
Yeah.
to, I sort of a bit chameleon like in that way.
Mm.
And so when I'm with everybody else, like, oh no, I can't cope because I can't put all those hats on in the same room.
Yeah, that's interesting. And also, like that Gemini is very dynamic. It's the twins, so there's two
Yeah,
of you in a way,
yeah,
and you're probably like you're saying about that. So many people, it's probably your Scorpio moon, because that's the water element. Water wants to feel things deeply. It almost needs time, space and time to kind of figure things out, to feel things, if that makes sense. So there's that depth in the Scorpio energy. And I think Scorpio energy, like looking at all the energies, is probably quite misunderstood, actually.
Yeah.
It has that depth for deep transformation and kind of looking into the shadows and like shining a light on the darkness.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to go there. That's probably why you're great at the work you do, is that
Yeah.
you hold that safe space for people.
Mm.
um it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So how you know what do people generally come and ask for initially from you? Do you find they come in for one thing and then leave with another direction, or do they tend to know what they're coming for?
Yeah, sorry, I think there's a little bit of a time delay. I think it's all right
Sorry.
now, but um so yeah, that's interesting. They often, it does vary. And I think because if you think of, just to kind of come back to the 12 signs, your natal chart, like you said earlier, I think is a snapshot of where the planets were when you were born. So you have the 12 life areas in there. And so you could literally come, yeah, people come, and I don't do that now. People, I have had somebody come and say, oh, when am I going to meet my
Partner.
partner or something? And I
So
thought,
that's why I was obsessed with these horoscopes, because that's what I wanted to know for years
yeah,
and years. When's the
right.
tall, dark, handsome stranger coming?
Yeah. And again, it's not, for me, it's not about that. It's about tapping into understanding yourself so that you're in alignment with who you are at your core. So you attract the things that you really desire and really that are part of your purpose. But yeah, it's funny. Like I don't attract that. Obviously, I've shifted in what I'm doing now. But essentially, you know, I tend to attract, intuitive, creative types that have so many ideas and they don't really know where to start with it all.
Right.
So I've recently been working with a client. I've worked with her for about, I think, almost over a year, actually.
Okay.
So using her astrology as a tool for guidance, in that she has a lot of creative talents and she wants to kind of she wanted to find her self-expression, the way to express that creativity in a way that felt like she was being authentic. So essentially, I mean, that's a deeper dive, but we explored the different aspects of her chart, her sun, her moon, her Venus, her Mars. I mean, it goes on, so that essentially she understands those parts of her and they could come through in the creative kind of work she does.
Right.
That's just one example. And then, I've had recently somebody will come for like business guidance, wanting to know what kind of is she on the right path, like maybe looking at you can look at transits in astrology and see what the energies are doing in the next, 6 months, even further ahead if you want, so that that person is kind of working with the themes of the energy. So yeah, it does vary, but essentially my kind of realm is trying to help helping people tap into their creativity and their intuition through their chart. I always find it hard to put into words because it's quite fluid, and I'm sure, like the work you do, it's kind of not very linear.
No, absolutely,
So
definitely not. Yeah.
it's
And one day you can attract in one person and the next day it's another person. So, yeah,
right. It's being adaptable, I think, isn't it?
absolutely.
And I think it's quite interesting because I always find if I'm struggling with something, then there's a client that shows up that is like a mirror
Yeah.
to is going through a similar thing, and I'm like, wow, this is quite illuminating, actually.
Mm.
So it does have that. I feel like it does go really deep,
Yeah.
does go into, I guess it's, in some way, I wouldn't say I'm, psychologist, because obviously I haven't studied psychology, but it sort of goes, I think it works deep on the psyche in a way, because there's, these rich archetypes and these 12 energies, and you can tap into all of them. And some of them will obviously call to you at different times in your life as well.
Mm.
And I think you can really lean into them to support you, which is, I love the archetypes. I think it's incredible, very inspiring to think of the story and the themes of each archetype. Yeah, so it's endless.
Yeah, it's absolutely. I mean, it can go on. It can go on and on and on and on, can't it? And it, it is timeless as well. There's it's been going on for generations, hasn't it? To people, and people in India swear by it in terms of, finding the right love match for somebody when they do their weddings. They use the horoscope chart to work out
Absolutely.
who their partner is going to be. And I really have. I've got a book at home which is about relationships, and it links in, and it's so accurate. It's amazing. I've just been astounded at times at how accurate it is. So
It's fascinating, isn't it?
it really is.
And I mean, I think as well, people think compatibility is straightforward, but again, it's not. There's so many elements in your chart. You can't just look at somebody's sun sign and go, well, I'm a Gemini and a Capricorn. It's not going to work. But actually, there's all those other aspects. And
Absolutely.
of course, when I when I've been dating, somebody, I've been so curious to look at their charts. I think, oh,
Absolutely.
it's like gold dust. So, oh, you know
Absolutely.
about a person says a lot in their chart.
Yeah. So is that one of the first questions you ask then?
No, I mean, I've been with my boyfriend now for about 8 months, so it's still quite new, but I definitely, I did ask him quite. I thought, no, I don't want to, because then I find myself getting into trying to analyze somebody, and I'm like, that's not,
Yeah.
it's not
You want to feel
correct.
them first, don't you? And know, actually, do they feel right? And then you can sort of work
Yeah,
out, oh, does that go with how I feel, rather than,
yeah,
because otherwise you could probably
absolutely.
create a case for or against without really having got to know them.
You could, and that's unfair, but
Yeah.
it is useful now. I haven't really looked at it too much because I've been mindful of that. But just understanding some parts of his chart, I'm like, wow, yeah, that's we're different in that way, but it works. There's a
Yeah.
harmony there.
Yeah.
So like you said, like just knowing my moon is in Sag and his sun sign is Sag.
Okay.
So often, I mean, again, it's not an exact science, but often they say in astrology that as a women, we're more like our moon signs because we're, more emotional, more
Intuitive.
connected to our feelings. And then men are more like their sun sign. So I always find that quite interesting. You know, because they're more, I guess the sun is your ego, and as not in a bad way, but we need that ego, right, to create and to be in the world. So that's the kind of I am, this is me. So yeah, I kind of think, well, we do need both as well in ourselves. And yeah, they can be different, as you said, with your moon in water and your sun in air. So yeah, the elements are, a really good way to connect with ourselves, I think.
Mm.
And yeah, mindful of going down a rabbit hole because
We
some
could talk
days,
about it for
Danny.
hours. You also do, I've seen you do, is it podcasts, or do you interviews with people on your website as well? How long
Yeah,
have you been doing that? You kind of tailor them in a way, or
yeah. So that again was something I didn't plan to do. Um, so yeah, I started a YouTube channel. I think it was last year now, and it was for a bit of fun actually. I remember somebody, I think it was some intuitive mentor I was connected with on a Facebook group. I think I had a couple of calls with her, and we really kind of connected. And she said, you know what, I just have this feeling that you need to start a YouTube channel.
okay,
And that kind of idea was seeded. And then I kind of started doing, I thought actually this could be quite fun because as you're doing, I think you can learn a lot from by having
absolutely.
conversations.
I mean, when you're interested with people, you're interested, aren't you? And you want to know more all there is to know, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So then I started kind of doing, yeah, like themes, who could I, well, it started vague and then it got kind of, or who in the business world or in, holistic business world do I know that obviously wants to share their wisdom? And then it became about them opening up and sharing their stories and also their knowledge on that topic. So I think you listened to one about the money.
Yeah.
Some people did, yeah, Eloise, she's a money alchemist. So learning about money and leaning into the feminine energy, which is fascinating, so much to learn.
It's just interesting how we can get stuck in a fear with money, can't we? And it's a lot of it is just about being buoyant and excited and in that, positive energy around money rather than in the fear mindset or the lack that which doesn't help to provide
Absolutely.
more.
It's
But
so
it
true,
takes
isn't it?
time, doesn't it, it takes a lot of trust and a lot of
Oh,
time to
yeah,
get.
yeah. And I think it's always ongoing, isn't it? I mean,
Mm,
I think I consciously was aware of like my money mindset, whatever you want to call it, since 2017.
mm,
But it really does take time. So some deep ingrained patterns in there that
mm, mm,
you don't shift overnight. Some things can shift overnight, some things take longer.
yeah,
Um, and as businesswomen, we have to look at it, don't we? Can't avoid it.
no, mm,
But I found something that's helped me, and I tell my clients as well, is well, I call them play dates, but it comes from the artist way, which is she talks about doing an artist date every week. So it's doing something fun for yourself that is just for fun. It's like you're filling up your well. So, and you can get really creative with it. It could be, simple things like going for a walk somewhere new, or, making time to read your novel, or, baking a cake. But it's something to look forward to in the week.
yeah,
Actually, I think for me, that makes my vibration, that, what's the word, uplifts me and makes me feel more expansive. So then money is kind of easier to,
mm,
you're more magnetic to money, if you like. So
yeah.
that's a
And you're
kind of,
more magnetic to everything, really. You're more magnetic to clients. Clients
mm,
want to, as I was sitting in my meditation this morning, I was thinking exactly that thing of um, actually to bring in more clients. I don't want to be sitting here thinking, oh, I haven't got any clients, or that sort of mindset doesn't become attractive. I was also saying to somebody the other day, I know how to get a seat on a tube and not have anyone sit next to me because I get into the mindset of nobody wants to sit next to me. Nobody likes me on this tube. And
mm.
look, they'll look at them all. They're all going to other, and it really works. And
I
nobody comes
love
and sits
this.
next to you because you're in that mindset of, well, nobody wants to sit next to me, and so they don't.
I love this. You need to teach
So
this,
you can work
Amanda.
it in your favor.
Oh, do you know, I love that. I used to find the tubes are so overwhelming, aren't they? Like they're like a sponge and just drain all your energy out.
I guarantee you, I am the last person that somebody comes to sit next to on a tube, unless there's somebody that's, really like drunk or whatever. Then, but I can have spaces next to me until the last.
Oh God, I
I
love
get into
this.
that mindset of right, okay.
I'm going to try that next time. Manifesting
So,
101.
but then also to turn that on its head is to, what? Everybody loves me. Everybody really loves, and I really, not even everybody loves me because that's an external. I love myself so much that people are only going to be attracted into my energy because I know I am really good at what I do, and all of that sort of mindset is it's attractive, isn't it? People will go,
Absolutely.
oh, yeah, I
It
like.
makes such a difference, doesn't it? Because that's so then you're exuding that confidence, and you're attractive to those people. You don't have to try. And I think that's been a lesson, well, for me, and probably I would say I used to chase clients,
Yeah,
but I also see there's a pattern in me chasing money because it's like, oh shit, I need the clients. And then you get into the fear, needy energy, and that actually kind of you chase them away then.
yeah,
And I think it's when you work on your relationship with money, I found that you're actually this was a big thing for me when I figured this out, or when I got this dropped in is that your relationship with money is a mirror to your relationship with yourself.
Absolutely.
And I was like, oh, wow, I never clocked that one.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not machines, we're not robots, we're not made to work 24/7. And so I'm very fluid in the way I work. I think I was saying earlier, I don't work like strict days. I don't work 9 to 5 because I just get really tired otherwise. And actually, I think if you give yourself that space and that time for you, then as you said, you are more attractive to your clients. We're
Mm-hmm.
practicing what we preach as well. So
Absolutely, absolutely. But it
um,
takes time to learn. It's taken me a long time, still on that journey.
when will it end?
And yeah, well, who knows? But I think whenever I can always look at my bank balance and slip straight back into fear, and so just to let
Yeah.
it go, really, I think is
Absolutely.
the big.
Yes, if you hold on to it, isn't it? I think that's also the hardest part is that, which I'm really learning more at the minute, is how to surrender, like literally surrendering the how. Like I could be like, right, I need to book in, so many astrology readings, this month. But actually, then I'm kind of limiting myself to all the other ways that money could come to me through, like my moon circle, or money could drop in as a gift, or just so
Well,
many
I had a
levels
check
of
last
fun.
week from a gas and electricity company. They gave me £324, and I was thinking, why are they giving me this money? Because I've obviously been building up over the summer to
Yeah.
try and help to pay for the winter months. So I don't want the money back. And then I looked at my account and they
Ah,
haven't sent me that money back. That's odd. So I was trying to work out what it was. And then I realized when I first moved into my house, I joined a company that then collapsed straight away, literally within 3 months. So they have returned the money for some reason, I don't know, and I'm not going to question why, for the first 3 months of that because they collapsed and they went insolvent. So
amazing.
this check just came from absolutely nowhere. I had no expectation of it coming. So yeah, you're right. If you write in you're manifesting I must have this level of money from clients, then you're not there's no freedom for, well, what about winning the lottery, or what about great aunt
Absolutely.
whatever suddenly deciding to give you money in her will, or you never know.
It's so true, isn't it? I mean, I think back and I was pondering on this earlier, is there was a time when I was, the guest house. Um, and obviously I have fond memories of that place. But I remember I set up because, some people know me. I'm obsessed with the Artist's Way book. I will tell everyone about it. And just quickly, it's a 12-week creative recovery course. So it's about kind of unblocking your creativity, and essentially it's sort of like law of attraction, but she doesn't call it that. So you're, opening up the field and unblocking your creative channels and intuition and all that. And it's a great book. And I thought, I'm gonna actually just launch this and charge to run this course because I'm so passionate about it. And some people just need accountability with those books, and there's exercise you have to do every day.
Yes, yeah.
And honestly, I can remember when I put it out there and on Facebook, whatever, and it was a meetup group, I think, in London. And every day I was working in the guest house. And then on my in between, I'd go off on a Boris bike along the river, go and sit in a cafe with a book. And like I was doing that kind of every day. And I realized I was just like, this is so much fun. I was kind of cultivating that joy every day. And then like the people just dropped in so easily. And I had like 6 people sign up, like really easily. And I was
Yeah,
like, I didn't have to chase anyone.
yeah.
I was literally just doing me and having cycle rides and drinking coffee,
Yes,
and they
yeah.
just came in. And I was like, wow, that's such a powerful reminder of like being in that
Absolutely.
state of flow, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, I think it's especially important when you're self-employed. I could potentially, well, I do actually work every single day of the week.
Mm.
And I rarely do I say, or I'm not going to do anything on this one day. I always allow my diary to be open for anything. And yeah, I think but because of that, it means every single day I do also something that I enjoy. So I always do my daily meditation in the morning because I run a group, but I do it because I also enjoy it. And I'll walk the dog and things like that, which is my pleasure zone as well. So um,
Yeah.
I think it's, yeah, you have to, well, I have to, I'm going to own that. I have to make sure that I have enough space and time to just relax, enjoy, and
Exactly. It's and next time you can add your play date in for an hour or two on
yeah,
that weekend.
absolutely.
I think that's, I know it's great you do the small things, and I think we should be doing the small things every day. And I think, where we get stuck, and I'm guilty again, it's work in progress, that there's a part of you that can go into that old programming of like, oh shit, but I have to work hard for money.
Mm,
So I literally have to be at my desk all day long. But actually, I think if you are, and that's what I've done my conversation series on recently, is if you're a bit more sensitive and you're more kind of a bit more introverted, then you need a bit more space to actually let things simmer away, to process
mm.
what you're creating along the way. Otherwise, I can get very overwhelmed if I don't have that space for myself.
And not to feel guilty about it as well. That's really important too. It's
mm,
because you can have the feeling of, well, uh, everybody else is in a 9 to 5 sort of thing, and I'm actually going out and enjoying the sunshine now, or you have to learn
yeah.
to say, well, actually, that's just the joy of what we do, and accept the joy of the being self-employed. You don't have to be, when I
Yeah,
talk to my sister
yeah.
about it, she thinks I'm incredibly lazy and just don't work hard enough because I can be out and lying in a hammock during the middle of the day, or not work every day, and certainly don't do 9 to 5 at all. But
And it's
um
not linear, is it? And I love that you say you've got to not feel guilty, because I think that's a huge one for us women is oh shit, we're relaxing, we should be doing something.
mm,
But what actually if your, self-care and resting was actually productive? I learned that from my old mentor, and she was always asking me this question, okay, so what is your energy available for today? And so now it's become a kind of ingrained habit that I ask myself, am I actually feeling really energetic that I want to kind of be live on social media and do, batch some videos or whatever? Or is it actually I feel a bit more tired and I need to, have a walk in nature and then maybe start my day a bit later, and
mm,
actually maybe only pick one or two tasks and not put loads of pressure on myself to kind of go, go, go at a million
mm,
miles an hour.
mm,
So I think you have to be mindful of how you feel, and that's why I love the moon cycles, because it can be that compass for what you're doing at each time in the month, and how much energy sometimes people have available. So yeah, but it is a journey, isn't it, with the
yeah.
not feeling guilty. It's not
Yeah, yeah.
it's
And
not easy.
how do you so do you do meditation regularly? Do you sit and listen to your intuition? What works for you?
Yeah, so I am quite fluid, but I have started like a daily meditation where um actually this is sort of like what Jen does, if you know, with her heart bath. So essentially breathing in like white light to sort of clear out any negative energy. And then I sit, and I usually sit for about 5-10 minutes and just tune in and say, you know, I ask my higher self, or now I've been more recently up kind of trying to work with ancestors, because I've done an ancestral healing course, which is a whole nother thing. But just tuning in and asking for that wisdom, I often ask, what is the next step I need to take for my higher self and my business today? Or something like that. If I'm not kind of doing business things, then I'll just say, what's the next step I need to take for my higher self? Um, or something like that. And sometimes it will come in different forms, doesn't it? Sometimes I get a clear word, And I'm like, well, that's a bit vague. So that's a fine-tuning process, I think, to, yeah, I mean, feel into what guide, what wisdom you're receiving.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure you teach all about that. I mean, how do you have a practice for that kind of
Yeah,
tuning?
I mean, I do something called the Soul Sync meditation, which is a manifesting meditation, but which was devised by a teaching academy in India, and it's a very powerful intentional meditation. But it allows for you to be using your mind and using you're allowed to be kind of thinking
Yeah.
through that process, which is really great because it's often with the way is you're kind of there's a lot of people who feel like you should be not having any thoughts during a meditation, and I find that it's your time to hear, to listen to what's going on, and it's not necessarily coming from a thought process, but they have to kind of, in my case, come through as words. They don't. Sometimes I'll come through as pictures, but
Mm.
more often than not, I'm not a massively visual person unless I'm working with somebody who is a visual person. If I'm giving Reiki to somebody who's very visual, I'll have all sorts of wonderful visions. But if I'm in my own energy, I don't have that powerful visual aspect. So I see meditation for me as a way of what can I connect with internally, what voice is gonna come up for me that's gonna allow me to create change, or to know where I should be, what I should be doing today, how. And so for me, that's how I start my day, and I do it within a group setting because it gives me accountability. That's the whole reason I set up the group, was because it was in lockdown. I used to be running it for this retreat place where I work in, used to be in Scotland, called Penningham, and we used to do it. I think we used to do it weekly, maybe online, and we would do it because there are a large number of us who worked and assisted there. So we would only probably do it once every couple of months or something. And so but I quite enjoyed doing it. And after I'd done it, I thought, oh, I don't want to wait another couple of months to do it. So when it
Ah,
came to
great.
lockdown, I started up this meditation group, and then um, because I wanted to do this daily meditation. In fact, for me, lockdown was amazing because I got the chance to do all of this work, which was fabulous. So
That's cool, isn't
yeah,
it?
I
Yeah.
think that's the way I see meditation, is about being able to connect within, and to understand
Mm,
what's going on. So what about
absolutely.
your feelings? How do you feel in this particular moment? Because I know what the most common response is: I'm okay, I'm fine, or I'm good, I'm great. But how do you actually feel?
Oh gosh, that is a question, isn't it? Yeah, I think I feel it's, do you know, I feel like there's been a lot shifting recently, in the way I see kind of my business and what is kind of growing. And I actually feel like curious about it, and to what is going to come, what is going to evolve. Yeah, what opportunities are going to come. But there's also probably a sense of like, I think deep down there's a sense of like almost trepidation. I think there's and this is what I've talked a lot about my channel, uh, these conversations about being highly sensitive, not to get attached to the label, but I think there's just this new awareness that I found that sometimes having a business can feel, obviously it feels uplifting, but there's a part where I can feel like a sense of a burden, I guess, a responsibility, because I care so much about people, and I've got to be mindful of not, overgiving, and, make it. That's why I'm big on kind of the play dates and the self-care, because I know I could probably burn out quite easily. And that's just knowing my nature. So I feel like there's kind of like things opening up and things expanding, and it's kind of that, yeah, I guess a little bit of trepidation of like, oh, well, but if I'm more visible, then what does that mean? Like, hopefully that means more clients and people on your wavelength. So yeah, I think that sense of responsibility, and I've explored this being a Capricorn, is that, almost being a mountain goat, and I really do get that archetype of always wanting to get to the top of the mountain. And it can be slow and it can feel long. So it's giving myself that, not being so hard on myself. I think I can be quite, have high expectations of myself quite often. So yeah, I'm in between, if that makes sense. A little bit in limbo as well. Obviously I make things happen, but along with it there is a curiosity and excitement as well to what is evolving.
What about in this particular moment right here, right now?
I guess a little bit anxious to, yeah, I'm not even sure what that is.
Is it okay when you come into that feeling to say it's just there and that's okay? Do you find there's a resistance to or wanting to know what it is and having to explore it mentally and get involved in it rather than just
Yeah,
being
yeah, exactly. There's a sort of thing of like, oh, my mind wants to go into it.
mm,
Yeah, instead of just let it be there.
mm. Because when I feel into that myself, I can feel into your energy of that, but it feels very light actually. It's there, but it's like something that you are very familiar with. It's an awareness that you feels to me like you this is something that you
Yeah,
have on a regular basis. It doesn't feel heavy with that. It feels fairly light. It feels a breath away from not being there.
yes. Yeah, that's well described actually, because I wasn't going to say, I think it's not like a anxiety where you feel tight in your chest or something. It's just, oh, it's there, but it's not affecting me,
Mm.
if that
Mm.
makes sense.
Is it something that you have suffered with in the past?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, I would say so. And I think partly probably only kind of really understood that this year, of like what
Right.
that was. And that sort of like anxiety that everything has to be okay, like
Mm.
partly probably around growing a business, like why aren't I where I want to be after three
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
There's that sort of a bit of anxiety there. um yeah, but it is.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I definitely will go into that mindset of why am I not where I want to be after 14 years? And actually, rather than look at what I've achieved, we want to beat ourselves up, don't we, all the time? Isn't it interesting?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
rather than
I do.
just be grateful and you know what? It seems to work. I'm paying my bills. Things are getting done. I'm
Yeah,
not I'm not a multi-millionaire, but I'd never really strive to be a multi-millionaire.
yeah.
And I'm not having to also conversely work in an office
Mm,
and be in that scenario, which I'm just not comfortable in anymore. So I couldn't do that. So it's interesting, isn't it, how we judge ourselves for not being in that. But where is that place? And does that place really, would that place make us happy anyway?
yeah, it's true, isn't it? We do tell ourselves a lot of stories, don't we?
Yeah.
It is, and I know that, yeah, and I know that I teach it that you have to, celebrate. I'm all about, right, what are you celebrating this week?
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you do? Or like, it doesn't even have to be a big thing. It's about the small things,
Mm.
right? you
Yeah.
know, that for you, you did your morning meditation, or you had an aha about, a money block, or, I'm just picking that out the air, but I'm just trying to think
This
of my
week for
life.
me, I've had an amazing week. I haven't really earned very much money at all. Literally, I've had one client so far this week, but I did a talk in the group, and lots of people had it. One woman said it made her feel so creative that she started a whole new line of her artwork. So she's now
Oh,
creating a new artwork based on
amazing.
her body, and she's just been talking about it everywhere because she's so enthused by it. And that's just,
I love that.
I mean, that is more than, isn't that more than money could ever
It
buy, you know?
absolutely.
To know that even just one person feels alive and enlightened and
It
one
absolutely is
meditation.
amazing. Yeah, that's wow, look how powerful you are. And
And
that
it
bit
feels great, doesn't it?
yeah,
And
you
that's the
facilitated
same.
that.
You will be able to get into that yourself, having known whatever client it is that you've had, that
Yeah,
you've been able to inspire. And actually, even the money never is
no,
it's a great value system, but actually the reward isn't in that. It is in
yeah.
whatever the gift it is that they have got from that.
100%, isn't it? It's always those like comments or like messages you get from people that have like that beautiful one you got from that lady. That's what makes it worthwhile, isn't it?
It
Like,
is,
I
yeah.
think any of us heart-centered women, we're not solely focused on business, obviously, on money. We need the money, but it's not the be
It's
all
not
end
the
all.
reason why we're doing it at all, at
No.
all.
And I think as well, if I think maybe this comes from the artist way, but essentially, if you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work.
No, it
So,
doesn't.
wow, how lucky, how many people can say that they love what they do?
Yeah.
Probably out there in the world, not a lot. And I think that is an incredible thing to celebrate, because some people don't even know what they really love to do. And I think, oh God, well, I'm multi-passionate. There's so many things, life could never be boring,
I
right?
love that. Multi-passionate. I've never had heard that one before. Brilliant. Multi-passionate.
Ah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I just think if we have so many talents to bring in our business, as you do, offering so many different beautiful therapies, then I think, well, it kind of cuts the shame out of this idea that we have to pick one thing and do it for the rest of our life, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
to me, that oh my God, that makes me feel just flat. If I had to pick one thing, it's just not possible.
No, it is.
So, being able to be fluid, and I'm gonna do some painting, or I'm gonna offer some, do my astrology readings, whatever it is, I think that's an exciting place to be in.
Absolutely. I think we're going to wrap it up there because you couldn't be more, yeah, spot on, really. If we carry on, we might not, we'll end it on a different note. And I think we should end it on that lovely, beautiful note that actually we're in the right place. So
Absolutely. Oh, thank you, Amanda. It's been
thank you
great.
so much for coming on. It's been really lovely to talk to you today. And thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's been fun.
Brilliant.